I mean, you're gonna do this okay afterwards anyway.
Or did you want to?
No. You're going first. Nope. Do you want? Is that what you want?
Better, honestly.
Okay.
We'll come sit closer to you.
Sure.
Because I honestly think that
Okay.
even for the rest of the lesson, it's better. Talk about it. Otherwise, I feel like I'm lecturing.
If you like, you can sit down and I can put it on the ground. Yeah, after that, yeah, we can do that. Sure.
You were kind of amongst. Before I even knew what was that about, or just have to live with it. Yeah. I love it.
Very.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, Yusuf al-Bahrani, right? Yeah. Yes, yes. Mashallah, mashallah. No, but I mean, he's amongst our great scholars for sure, no doubt. Yeah. Yes. Of course, mashallah. Is it ready? Testing. Good? Okay. This doesn't clip on, huh? I guess I'll just hold it. Okay. No worries. If I hold it here, is it still clear? Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Those people online, inshallah, and those who are here today in person, inshallah. So we'll open up our discussion tonight with a hadith from Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. This hadith says, إن الزرع ينبت في السهل ولا ينبت في الصفا. I'm going to read it first in Arabic. فكذلك الحكمة تعمر في قلب المتواضع ولا تعمر في قلب المتكبر الجبار. Cultivation grows on soft land, not on the stones. So Imam al-Kadhim is saying this, that az-zar', I think even more than cultivation, it's like vegetation. Vegetation grows on soft land, not on the stones. Similarly, knowledge and wisdom sprout on the heart of modest people, not on the hearts of the unjust, arrogant persons. So this is a very beautiful narration from Tuhaf al-Uqul, and it's also in Mustadrak al-Wasail. Um, So this hadith that we can inshallah reflect upon, I think it it alludes to a verse. Actually, it's referenced even to a verse in the Quran, right? والبلد الطيب يخرج نباته بإذن ربه والذي خبث لا يخرج إلا نكدا. This is a verse where Allah is casting this analogy, right? That the the land that is pure, right? It brings out its fruits in abundance by the permission of its Lord, right? Whereas that earth that is uh, just disgusting, filthy, right? It doesn't. You will see nothing that comes out of it except thorns, except weeds, basically, right? You won't see things of value coming out of a ground that is not fertile, right? So this is the same kind of principle that we're seeing, that Imam al-Kazim is actually being even more explicit. He's being even more direct in this hadith for us. He's saying that the qalb, the heart of someone who is mutawadi', who has that humility, they are the ones who can, the seeds of knowledge, they sprout within them. That hikmah comes out, right? Whereas those individuals whose hearts are hardened, they are mutakabbir, jabbar, right? No matter what you do, that knowledge doesn't sink in, right? So, what do you guys think about this hadith? Any reflections upon it that you guys have? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها. Yes, that's a beautiful other example where Allah is casting the similitude of, a good, basically a goodly word, right? Kalima al-tayyiba is actually that kalimatul iman, right? That, yes, of course, yeah.
Oh, the word of God. Actually, I was thinking about this recently, and so that's the whole word, but that's, I think Islamically that
I'm saying it could be referring to a person.
Yeah, I mean,
Or the kitab is actually a person.
I think it's actually, kalima tayyiba. I mean, there's another verse, right? What is it? إليه يصعد الكلم الطيب والعمل الصالح يرفعه, right? So all these, القرآن يفسر بعضه بعضا, right? So the Quran, you take verses and you compare them, and you can derive what the Quran is saying by comparing one verse to another, right? And so this is the principle that we see. But kalima al-tayyiba is, in the sense, at least in this specific verse, كلمة إليه يصعد الكلم الطيب والعمل الصالح. العمل الصالح is by muqarana, right? By comparing to al-kalim al-tayyib. This is kalimatul iman, right? This shahadatu an la ilaha illallah. That's wa Muhammadur Rasulullah. This is kalima tayyiba, right? Yes, right. So, I mean, but any type of goodly word you can even derive. Any type of good word, in the sense of even good actions, perhaps. It can be stretched to that level. Assalamu alaikum, man. How are you doing? MashaAllah.
Following verse is also
ومثل كلمة خبيثة كشجرة خبيثة اجتثت. uh, what is it? كمثل كشجرة خبيثة اجتثت من فوق الأرض ما لها من قرار, right? So يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة, right? ويضل الله الظالمين ويفعل الله ما يشاء. So yes, you are exactly right. This Allah is casting the similitude of basically a filthy tree. It's as if it's like a weed. It's just not even implanted in the ground, right?
it's like it can't go into the stone. It's useless.
Yeah,
What it's giving, it's useless, and its roots, it's
right.
useless as well.
Yes, ahsantum. Yeah. So, I mean, so much reflections we can do tadabbur on the Quran itself. But let's think about practically. What do you guys think practically about this narration?
I'd like definitions of Rawaha and Quran. That actually will be practical. What exactly does that mean? How do you define it?
Yes, Brother Rashid, do you have some points? Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. Very nice. Yes.
Any other comments? So I think whenever you look at words in Arabic, it's good to break down the two roots, right? So let's look at these three words, right? So tawaba. What is tawaba? What's the root word? Waba, right? Waba, right? What is waba? Waba is coming to place something, right? To put something down. Waba. So that's what waba means. Tawaba is from tafa'ul, right? Tafa'ul. It has the special forms, and tafa'ul has this meaning of yeah, of course. So, oh, thank you. So, I hope
Alhamdulillah.
it's something.
Okay.
No worries, yeah. But so tawaba has this meaning of putting yourself in the right place, right? That putting yourself in the right place, that's what it has a reflexive meaning, right? So that wada'a comes back to you, that you're putting yourself in the right place. The right place or to a lower place? The right place. Wada'a has a sense of putting down, right? Putting something down, right?
More at below. Putting it down where it belongs.
Yeah, down. Like there's a verse, Allahu a'lamu haythu, or what is it? That's yaj'al that he said. What is it? فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنثَى. Right? So this word wada'a means to put something down into, of course, this is what you gave birth, right? But it's talking about, it is referring to a mother
Placement. I don't know if it's up or down. I think it's just placement. Why not? I think you're adding
But I don't think it necessarily means to put something like it does mean to I mean if you put something higher up, it wouldn't really be wada, right?
Wow.
It wouldn't really be wada. If I put this higher up, right? Wada has a sense of putting something down.
Oh, it does.
Right? So yes. So I mean that's specifically I don't know what it both means. It's just I don't know which one it is. Yeah. There's also okay, so you know, rafa'a and wada'a, right? Rafa'a is to raise, wada'a is to lower, right? It has that sense of lowering something. So
Wada has means in the sense of putting yourself in your proper place, in the sense of putting yourself down, like you're humbling yourself, you're lowering yourself, right? That's the wada, right? From a lughawi standpoint, that's what it means, right? To lower yourself. So that's the wada. Okay, now we move on to the next word.
Takabbur.
So he said mutakabbir.
Yeah.
Al
Al-mutakabbir.
He didn't use mustakbir, which is actually also a little bit different. We'll go into the meanings of those. That would be
Okay, first off, tell me, what does the word takabbur, what's the root? Yeah, kabara. Okay, ahsantum. So kabara means what? To be big, right? Kabura. Kabura, for instance, is the Arabic root actually, with a dhamma on the ba. So kabura maqtan indallah, for instance, right? That's mentioned in the Quran. So kabura means to be big or grand, right? So takabbur has the form of tafa'ul, right? So tafa'ul, this is specifically Arabic. Arabic is a very mathematical language, right? So all these forms, they're you can think of them like prefixes, suffixes, right? That you add to the word to change the meaning, right?
Yeah, I actually, just to add on to your mathematical thing, I actually recently learned this. In Arabic, everything is three. Every root is 3 or 4 letters. Every root in the Arabic language is 3 or 4 letters. Okay. And then you just add on to them. I forgot how much for each one. There's also a limited number of things you can add on. The limited number of letters you can actually add on to 3 or 4 letters. You can't add too much suffixes or prefixes. So everything, the whole Arabic language is like this, which is insane. If you, for a language, that's a really high level of organization compared to like other languages which have like a million
that's why
exceptions.
the Quran is in.
It's one of the miracles where Allah took the Arabic or purified Arabic or whatever for some reason because it is
like that. I think the Semitic languages are like that.
Yeah. Ahsantum. Yeah, no, it's this is why it's such a deep language for doing proper reflection and really getting. It's one of the languages that really has that depth in the meanings, and even like I have a book. It's called Ma'ani and Nahu. It's a very good book, but it tells you like even the smallest changes in Arabic grammar. How does it change the meaning? So even like if you understand these types of things, you understand why the Quran is like a linguistic miracle. You start to understand these details that I think it's hard to really translate into any other language. But so the word takabbur, okay, tafa'ul, right? You asked about, so mutakabbir is basically ism fa'il of takabbur, right? Mutakabbir, it has that form, right? Mutafa'il, basically, right? Mutakabbir. So that means someone who seeks to make themselves great or greater, or magnify themselves, right? That's literally what it means, right? Because remember we said this form tafa'ul and tafa'ul, both of these forms have a reflexive meaning, right? When you try to do something to your own self, right? So takabbur has that type of meaning, right? Okay, now you asked about mustakbir, right? Mustakbir, or istakbara, it's mentioned a few times in the Quran, right? Can you guys give me a verse where istakbara is used?
the one that really
أبى واستكبر.
استكبرت
أحسنتم.
أم كنت من العالين.
استكبرت أم كنت من العالين. Right.
Very beautiful way of Allah talking to Iblis.
Or إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادتي سيدخلون جهنم داخرين. Right. So many verses you can use where this istakbara is used, but then you will see other examples, right, where the word mutakabbir is used, right? Or takabbara is not used in the Quran in the sense of a fi'l, like an actual verb. It's al-mutakabbir, right? Or someone who basically, because istakbara has the meaning, this istaf'ala form, right? It has the meaning of trying to do something, seeking to do something, right? Seeking to do something which you're not really worthy of. Like you would never call Allah al-mustakbir, right? You would call him al-mutakabbir, because he actually has that kibr, right? He has that kibriya. He's the only one who has that kibriya, or that ability, that right to have that magnanimity, or we can say greatness, right? But you won't ever see Allah using the word mustakbir for himself. He'll say al-mutakabbir, right? Because that's his right, right? But somebody who's doing istikbar, right? Or he's mustakbir, this type of person, he's claiming something he has no right to, right? He's seeking to be great when he doesn't have a right to seek that, right? So that's the difference. It's a very subtle difference, but I'm glad you asked that question, mashallah. Okay, so then we went to yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes, of course.
to read some.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So the hadith is إن الزرع ينبت في السهل. I'll read it in Arabic first. إن الزرع ينبت في السهل ولا ينبت في الصفا فكذلك الحكمة تعمر في قلب المتواضع ولا تعمر في قلب المتكبر الجبار. Cultivation or vegetation grows on soft land, not on stones. Similarly, knowledge and wisdom sprout on the heart of modest or humble people, not on the hearts of the unjust or arrogant people. Right?
What is this hadith?
This is from Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, from Tuhaf al-Uqul, which is one of our books of hadith. So, we've been talking about this hadith and how we can understand it. So we were going through some terms. We went through the term, what is in this hadith, the Imam says that hikmah or wisdom, it basically it grows or it sprouts on the hearts of modest people, or those who have tawadu, right? Those who have that humility. So we were going through what does tawadu mean from a linguistic standpoint, right? And we said, Brother Abdullah, can you recap what does tawadu mean?
Uh, so it comes from the root wada'a,
Yes.
place something a little bit of a lower thing, right?
Yes.
Put something in a little bit lower. So to reflexively put that upon yourself, put yourself in a little bit of a lower position so that I guess accept something.
Yes.
Like humbleness.
Yes.
Humility.
Ahsantum.
Something with Arabic, for you to translate the word, you need the whole paragraph. You
Yes.
can't just use one word. Which is
Yes.
really
And one thing you have is also you have to understand, really key thing is being able to derive each word. What's the trilateral root? You should be able to look at a word and be able to tell what's the original root, and that helps you understand the gradations and the nuances in the meaning.
Here he uses mutakabir, which is actually somebody who does have grandeur, at least in this life. But even if they have that grandeur, and even though they have the truth behind it, if they make themselves look bigger, they're not going to receive the wisdom. So he's saying even if you are truly a big person, you're a PhD, mashallah, and you come to like a student's lecture, if you make yourself look big with the knowledge that you have, you will not receive the wisdom from the student's lecture.
That's a great way to reflect on the meanings. Yes, I think al-mutakabbir. Usually, you will find this meaning of mutakabbir. It's somebody whose arrogance has become like part of their nature. That so that they say that basically in Arabic you have ism and fa'al, right? Ism is a noun, right? Fa'al is a verb, right? So the nouns in Arabic, they indicate thabat. They indicate that has become a trait within you. Like for instance, if you say uh, in the Quran, for instance, somebody who alladhi kafara, right? So alladhi kafara is someone who disbelieved, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean they continue to be a disbeliever. Someone who's a kafir is someone it's become thabit in them. It's become a trait within them that they are just a disbeliever through and through, right? So that same thing with the word mutakabbir. Mutakabbir is someone who's like their nature has become such that they're arrogant, right? So okay, and then I know we've been talking about this for a bit, so we'll keep going, inshallah. But al jabbar, what does the word al jabbar mean? Okay, it comes from jabara, right? What does jabara mean? Yes, yes. So we have the Arabic word majbur, right? Majbur means you're forced to do it, right? Forced to do something, majbur, right? So jabbar, what do you guys think it means? Yes, somebody who is imposing. Imposing is a good way to translate this word, right? Who imposes upon others.
I thought it was a positive word. So I've also heard Jabbar is Jabr al-Iram, which is put them together.
Yes.
At least to
That's
put
where
them
the
in
word
one place.
algebra comes from. Al jabr, right? Al jabr has this meaning of it patching things together as well. It can have this type of meaning, right? Um,
So which one is it for this one?
so, but the word you have to look at it in terms of also the context, right? The context is super important, and of course, this name is Jabbar is one of the names of Allah, right?
But it can be actually both. It can be Jabbar and meaning that and these Jabbars that also in the time and context where if you have a problem, you genuinely offer to also it's the same way there's Subhanallah, there's Rashid. God has his
Ahsant. Yes. Yes, ahsantum. So, I think that's a very key point. This word jabbar, it comes from, so jabir is would be the normal ism fa'il, right? The normal person who is, the one who connects or the one who imposes, right? Jabbar is this fa'al form, right? Fa'al in Arabic has this sense of exaggeration, right? Like ghaffar, like Allah is ghaffarul dhunub, for instance, right? Yes, or Allah is Allamul Ghuyub. This Fa'al, Allam, right? Ghaffar. This, when you kind of double that second letter, right? It has a sense of intensity. It really indicates someone who's intense or almost hyperbole. It's like exaggerating that this person is really, really like extremely like overbearing. So that's what Al Jabbar means, right? Al Mutakabbir Al Jabbar, right? Somebody who's,
So the Palestinians take pride in being called holy because of their
yeah,
physical.
right.
I guess it could be used as well.
Yeah, I mean, it indicates someone who's powerful, overbearing, intent. But in this context, it's used in a negative way, right? Because it's put in it together with the word al-mutakabbir, someone who's arrogant, who's so forceful, right? Who's hot, who's very has a lot of haughtiness, right? So, but anyways, I think that this narration we learn from it some key points that inshallah we can all take. One of the things that is really important is to make sure whenever you hear someone, you know, don't rush to try to assert your superiority and say, "Ah, I know more." That immediately bans you from learning anything positive from that discussion, right? Yes, I mean because you're basically putting yourself above that person. Now you're not receptive to receive anything of benefit, right? Because you basically said, "Oh, I'm beyond you anyways. I'm way over your head. You wouldn't even understand what I'm saying." So by doing that, you sort of bar yourself from getting any type of benefit from those around you. And so that's why these people who have these traits, they end up, being people who are arrogant, who are overbearing, they don't end up being individuals who actually grow and develop. And you guys probably have seen this in your lives, right? Like people who have this trait about them, they don't continue to grow and develop. You know, they just continue to stay on their where they are. They sort of just stagnate, right? So growth involves being able to listen to individuals, even if they're people who don't know as much as you, but derive something of benefit from them, right? There's a verse of the Quran. It says, "الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ." That there are individuals that, and it says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ هَدَاهُمُ اللَّهُ. These are the ones who Allah has guided. These people who they hear a word, they hear something being said, and they follow the best of what is in what that speech. Whatever is in that speech, they follow the best of it. So don't always immediately. Some people, their nature is they hear something and they immediately start judging. Oh well, I don't think that I don't find any benefit in that. Oh, that seems silly. That's preposterous. He doesn't know what he's talking. They immediately start judging the speaker, right? And that turns them off from all the benefits that they could derive if they just listened with an open ear. So that's something really important. And I think we have to also recognize that all of us, no matter what, we're all like Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, that I'm amazed at a human being that he comes from a nutfa, he comes from a sperm, he walks around carrying excrement with him all day long, and at the end of the day he goes into the ground, he's buried into the earth, yet he thinks he can be arrogant. So like look at how low we all are as human beings. Where we come from, what we're carrying with us, throughout our lives, and then where we end up at the end of the day. We have no right to be arrogant, right? And so we should all be trying to just learn from each other and grow as inshallah, as mu'mineen, inshallah.
You mentioned the Maya Islam.
Yeah.
I don't recall the exact hadith, but it's a long paragraph of hadith, but he says that the hikmah, even if a munafiq, even if it goes to munafiq.
Al-hikmatu dalatul mu'min, right? That's what you're talking about.
There's a little bit of long hadith where he says
Yeah.
if the munafiq is talking, the hikmah comes out somehow from his tongue and goes into your heart as long as you're willing to receive that, even from a munafiq, he says.
Yeah.
I can't recall the hadith, but I might send it to you.
Inshallah, inshallah.
So
Ahsant.
even the munafiq, it's a munafiq that's talking to you, you can still get wisdom from a munafiq.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes uh, I mean, especially nowadays, everybody, you get bombarded with all this stuff on social media, with all this stuff, out there. You'll see a whole bunch of people who always want to express their opinions, always want to say something, right? Um, I think I think somebody can bring up this objection, and I want to see how you guys would respond to it, right? Say, well, not every person's worth listening to. A lot of people, they just say nonsense. They just spout out nonsense, and they think they can talk, and so you shouldn't waste your time listening to them. What do you
That
guys
might
think?
be true, but you don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's especially now in this age that we live in, right? everybody can everybody can pontificate. Everybody can get up on a podium and start speaking, and have a platform on social media, right? You have to. I think that there's a limit to this sort of these principles that we're saying, because there are individuals that if you listen to, they end up corrupting your mind too. You have to this hadith requires you to be at a level where you can discern truth from falsehood, right? So this verse of Quran that I gave, الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه, right? How do you do tamyiz? How do you actually decide what is ahsan? Though, how is it that when you're listening, you say, okay, well, I'm going to follow the best of whatever this person said? You actually have to be at a level where you can discern. You can discern. Okay, this is actually what he's saying is useful. This what he's saying is not useful, right? So yeah, yes, ahsantum.
I think one closer to home is someone like Andrew Tate, where he's extremely popular. He mixes.
Yeah. A lot of things sound
So
good.
like,
People are like, oh, yeah, it sounds good.
no, and it's a mix of good and bad. So
It's a great example.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. He has a lot of good things about him. He does have good things about him.
But there's
But the thing is, you have to be able to discern and differentiate. Like, you have to be smart enough to know what are the things he's saying that are actually, like things that are close to the haqq, and things that are like completely
You're
batil. You
right,
have to
because
be able to
someone
differentiate.
might think buying a Bugatti is the best thing they can do in their life. So
Yeah,
that's what you that's
yeah,
a great example.
I just like that he's getting associated involved with Islam.
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Because you know what is going on. It's like trending Islam.
Sounds trash.
Right.
Islam kind of blended that from the UK and stuff like that. It's like they bring the people, they find people on the street and they tell them like two things about Islam, and then the person probably high or drunk and he's gonna say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, they go to the mosque, and as soon as you walk in the door, already Islam is attention. Tomorrow's
Yeah.
not ready. So it's like that. That's
Yeah.
why I like
It's unfortunate. I mean, but this is actually one of the problems in social media, and like one of the big cons. I think it's like everybody thinks they can be a speaker and have an opinion. So you have to be also careful about who you. And some people, they're really just a waste of time. Like, there's not a lot to gain. Yeah.
But there's some, like, the other day, from a Sunni, I was scrolling on Instagram, and then a Sunni scholar, and then I learned, I don't know if that's true, that Imam Ali adopted um Abu Bakr's son after he passed away.
Yes.
And he
Right.
even married his widow,
Yes.
and I learned that,
exactly.
which is
So maybe we'll talk about him one day. Actually, Hamid bin Bakr, he was one of the
in the Battle of Karbala.
Arab general. Also, he was in.
Was he in the Battle of Karbala, or am I
No.
mistaken? Okay, that was.
Harun General, he was one of the commanders around the kitchen.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Unfortunately, he actually considered the kind of Hawari.
Yes.
Isa alayhi salam,
Yeah.
Right.
he's the Hawari of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He's actually one of the close, like the tabi'in of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And it's very sad if we'll talk about him. Listen, but it's sad how he also got oppressed too.
Yeah, the way he was murdered was
Very
crazy.
sad.
Yeah.
Wait, he, like, okay, well, we definitely. But I have a question connecting to this.
Yes.
Never mind.
Of course.
How can Imam Ali do that
Yeah,
if there was a negative opposing, like, if that's,
question.
I just can't wrap my head around it.
Oh, for example, like some you say, Abu Talib is still not. How can Abu Talib about the Nabi, the Prophet of Allah, is the one who raised him is actually him? So it doesn't. That's a contradiction to that. Because Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, he can be in you can see like Ammar ibn Yasir, first his mom and dad, they didn't believe in God at the first one, but he was a Nabi for more than 4 months. Although his mom and dad was telling him, don't go until the day that one day he was in. it doesn't have to be that your mom and dad believe in something that you don't that you have to believe in the same. For example, if your mom and dad right now don't believe
Yeah,
in
of course.
Islam,
Yeah, well, yeah.
what
But
are you
I feel like it takes a lot for a man to go and marry the widow and adopt a son, and they did such an action, or yeah,
Why do people get married, in your opinion?
I feel like back at that time is different than now.
Yeah. So I don't know why he married her. I don't know.
Because she was a widow, I'm
No,
guessing.
I don't know.
probably because of it?
Okay.
I mean, that's the reason. Single moms need someone to help them.
Yeah.
They have jobs.
I don't know why he married her, but
But yes,
So she was actually married
I
before
just
Abu
don't see it
Bakr. She was
connecting.
married to Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. So she was married to Ja'far al-Tayyab, right? That was her original husband. Then
Oh, Ja'far
then
Tayyab before
yes,
Abu Bakr,
yes, before
which
Abu
is
Bakr.
Imam Ali's.
Yes, Imam Ali's
Okay,
brother.
never mind. Now I
So
see it.
so
Okay.
you see,
but
so
like
it's
it's just
basically
marriage and the culture around marriage was different. Like now, the idea of a divorced woman or a widowed woman remarrying
Yeah.
is a stigma in our society.
yeah, I think that's more
So,
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is that the whole culture was different, and reasonings we don't know. So there could be so many different things going on in this little instance that we don't know about.
But I think that what was
But it
the
doesn't
issue?
lead. But it shouldn't lead to negating anything about Imam Ali's position about what the first Khalifa did. I think that's what you're trying to say. So
Yes.
how could
Yes.
Imam Ali reconcile this?
Reconcile this
Yes,
if
that's
they
what
did
I'm
this.
saying. There's no contradiction. There is no issue there.
And that's the fallacy. So the
Yeah,
fallacy here.
he's making up an issue.
The fallacy is this is actually a khusla جيدة في منهج. Actually, this is actually a merit that somebody can look beyond the father and actually help the family out. It's actually a huge merit. It's just like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Ta'if. When he came and he stoned him. So he went to Ta'if. First, he was in Mecca. He wanted to go, to Mecca. They said no for people didn't like it. He went to Ta'if to get the message to Ta'if, right? He stoned him. The small Christian community and the other Jews. He stoned him, right? And he sat under a tree. And then the Jibreel, and the nurse, Jibreel came. He's like, "Hey, do you want to destroy this town?" He's like, "No. Maybe their kids will be part of my message."
Yeah.
Right. So this is part of that vision of it's an ilahi vision. It's a Quranic vision of what how do you get good in people,
Yeah.
right? The son doesn't have to be like the father. The wife doesn't have to be like.
And the way he was thinking is not the way I'm thinking right now.
Yeah,
Completely,
Yeah,
right.
there's so much
It's Quranic,
In fact, in the second Khalifa's time, Umar ibn Khattab, Imam Ali was the first mustashar, like the first consultant
Yeah.
in that time, which is like, how can if someone's gonna look at it from a corner point of view, you're gonna be like,
How can
how can you be a mustashar? But we find a lot of things right now in the modern world. There's a lot of presidents that corrupted, and their ministers are wonderful people.
Yeah.
Yeah, ahsantum. Yes, of course. Yeah,
It's a really good question.
it is. It's a great question, mashallah.
Another question that's also related is, why did he call Abu Bakr his son?
It's kind of related to
There's many reasons.
the hadith too, where the idea of what's inside someone is something that's personal that they work on, right? So it's one thing that when I was thinking about it, I like to farm, I like to till soil, I like to work in the earth, right?
Mhm.
So when you talk about soft soil and hard soil, you can still plant hard soil, but it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah,
You gotta work hard,
right.
and so it's possible, but so there's a personal responsibility and effort that's involved. Uh, Whenever you're reflecting on those things, so like, yeah, I think.
And you can even extend this to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his marriages too. Some of the marriages that later on, some of the younger wives, it's a similar concept that he's talking about, where he's trying to get these families appeased. He's trying to get people closer in different ways. You can try so much, and there's so much effort you have to do.
Ahsantum. Ahsantum.
But it's a very good question.
I always have questions like off topic.
No, that's great. That's great, mashallah.
Honestly, I want more of these questions.
Yeah, I just think about them throughout the day.
Those are the questions that whisper in our ears.
Yes,
when
always.
they-
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you're on YouTube and you see this random guy
Yeah.
at Speaker's Corner in London talking about
talking
you
about. Yeah,
know, I've heard you
correct.
say
The
yeah,
Maghrib.
that
Yeah,
means,
Or when you're in the majlis, they're like, ah, yeah, that's this was
yeah, yeah,
whatever you
yeah.
can't.
yeah, exactly.
If you want to close it out, there's a Sahih narration of the Shia Qutb that Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr said, "Saraqaha Ali Ali and he was like, that's a clear answer.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's actually the tarbiyah that makes such a difference, right? Because that his tarbiyah was done by Imam Ali alayhi salam, and as a result, he saw the truth, about. Yes, it's the way the soil was tilled. Yes, and that makes a huge difference. It's like you can, even if you're born from, a father who didn't actually agree to Imam Ali's khilafa, believe that he was more worthy, but yet his son recognizes the truth, right? So it shows you that this is how Allah works. He can take out طيب من خبيث وخبيث من طيب. You can see this happening in Allah's system, right?
And if we reflect upon ourselves, never give up on people. When you see them, or you see their family, don't give up on their community, don't give up on
Definitely. Yeah,
because you never know how life changes in the end. All that matters is the khatimah. How does this person's life end?
You know, you bring that up, and I'm actually quarreling with that issue in regards to people who have an amendment, right? And amendment, like so when you're trying to make excuses for someone, and you should, but then no, this person has a certain responsibility. I know you're a doctor, I'm an attorney. You guys have ethical responsibilities. That's a higher standard than other people, right? And so there are certain positions where you, if you put yourself or if you're put into a position, you have to follow a certain standard.
Yeah, actually, if you have a feeling it's not it's huge, huge
No,
problem.
even I'm thinking as simple as like Imam Ali using specific candles for conduct of the state and candles for personal conduct, right? The idea of you know there's a responsibility, there's a manner. This is it's a trust.
What do you
So when that trust is there, do you impose that responsibility, a further responsibility? And I would say that yeah. So in certain
is the person
positions,
more accountable for
yes,
problems or for consequences?
of their actions.
Depends on if they're motivated. Or they're just jahiliyyin.
Yeah.
When those two are jahiliyyin.
Subhanallah. Wow, this was a longer discussion than we thought, mashallah. But it was beautiful, mashallah. Ahsantum.
Switch the topic.
I guess yes. You guys want to go straight into it?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
transition from.
Okay.
Now, are you comfortable like this, or
I think for this portion, I'll probably stand up just because there's
you know, I can try it.
it's okay. It's okay.
Down here, but the thing is, I'm not sure how stable we are on the. You want to try to see how that?
No. That's okay. That's okay. I'll stand up.
Which one do you like to focus on more?
Probably this one here.
Maybe look good.
That's probably better, right?
No, I think that
Because he's gonna say something. He's very hard. This guy.
All right, inshallah. I'll try not to take too much time because we've, mashallah, I think we're a bit on probably on a time crunch now. But okay, so we've been talking the past couple sessions now about Tawheed, right? And specifically, we've been focusing in on what we call sifatul dhat, right? Sifatul dhat, or basically the sifatul dhatiyya means the essential attributes of Allah, right? And we talked about we were actually going. Remember, we started with from the argument of contingency. You guys remember that whole discussion? We've been talking about that for a while, right? And then we defined what we call necessary existent, and we said this has to be Allah, right? And then we've been going through positive and negative attributes of this necessary existent, right? And we started going in a little bit more detail last week about the negative attributes, and we said, remember specifically, the necessary existent is the first creation, basically, or not first mover. He's the unmoved mover, right? He's the unmoved mover in the sense that there's no contingencies about his existence, right? It's not like he wasn't and he came to be because of certain circumstances. He has to be a being that has no contingencies, that doesn't require anything to materialize his existence, right? So as a result, everything else is contingent. All contingent existence are dependent on this necessary existence. Remember, and then we said that in turn this implies that the necessary existence is not dependent upon anything. Therefore, he must be non-temporal, non-dimensional, non-physical, non-complex. Remember how we derived complex, that Allah is, or that the necessary existent, will start with that, is non-complex. Do you guys remember how we did that? What did we say?
Complexity can be simplified.
Yeah, complexity can be simplified, but remember there was another big caveat with
Parts.
yes, exactly. So complexity implies parts, and parts imply interdependency, right? And remember we said the necessary existent cannot have any interdependencies, right? Can't have any contingencies whatsoever. Therefore, he must be simple. There's no complexity, there's no particularization or compartmentalization that you can make, right? Within this necessary existence. And then we said about him being singular, meaning that he's God can only be one. He cannot be two. He cannot be three. Do you guys remember how we derived that? How did we say that? The necessary existent must be only one. You cannot have two necessary
We
existence.
have the Venn diagram there.
Yes.
Shared traits would create multiple. I think it would eventually be 3 or 2.
It would create compartmentalizations, right?
It would create
You're creating compartmentalizations. Exactly. Interdependency, as a result, the whole concept of a necessary existent falls apart because now you can imagine contingencies within this, right? So that was the reason we said that God must be singular, right? Then remember we said fusion incarnation is not possible, right? Why do we say that's not possible?
localizing.
Yeah, because fusion incarnation implies that God basically localized himself into space or limited himself into a physical manifestation, right? What we call hulul. Hulul means that some the Christians they believe this, or that basically Allah incarnated himself into Jesus, right? That type of belief is completely alien to us, right? And it makes no sense because if that were to be the case, then Allah is basically taking himself out of being a necessary existent and making himself his own existence contingent. This is also why we said, remember, the Trinity doesn't make sense because Trinity, you have God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, right? I mean, this creates a sense of interdependency. Remember, we said that God cannot have any interdependency because that makes his existence mumkin, right? It introduces contingency, right? So what we mean by contingency is somebody can ask, what if we subtracted God the Father out of this equation? Is he still God? What if we took out God the Son? Is he going to still be God, right? You cannot do that with the necessary existent, right? The necessary existent is simple. There's no compartmentalization. There's no way that you can particularize or divide him, right? So that's what we say when we say Allah is ahad. There's basically that there's no way that you can take Allah and divide him or compartmentalize him. So then the question came up. Remember, we discussed the 99 names of Allah. Okay, well, we have 99 names. So how do you explain that? Are we not compartmentalizing Allah? Do you guys remember what we said about that?
I remember, so it was something along the lines that for us to understand, because we're limited beings, for us to understand his unlimitedness, we give him like these attributes, but it doesn't mean that that's him. Like, it's just for us to understand like how significant he is. Like when we say Allah Akbar, like we don't say Allah is great, but he's like the greatest of all.
Right. He's great. He's greater than can be described or basically Allahu Akbaru min an yusaf, right? That he's greater than we can even ever even put into words, right? So, but okay, yes, you're exactly on the right track. Can you expand that a little bit more?
We
Brother
said
Karar?
that there's even more names of Allah in ahadith and whatnot.
Yes.
It's still like it's the same thing. It's for us to understand.
It's for us to understand these names, and they're they're what we call tawqifi. Tawqifi means Allah has told us that he has these attributes, right? These 99 names, they're mentioned in our hadith as well as the Quran. So we say that Allah has these traits, but they're for us to understand. In Allah Himself, right? In Allah's that or Allah's essence, there is no compartmentalization. It's not like a part of Him is merciful, a part of Him is wrathful, a part of Him is powerful, a part of Him is kind. All of these things, He is simultaneously all of these things in one, right? Without any compartmentalization, right? Yes, He's just describing for us to understand, right? Because we human beings cannot conceptualize something like that. It's not possible for us to even comprehend. Ahsantum. Excellent. Yes. All right. So we discussed that. There's a couple other things, right? We said, um, okay. So the other thing that we have to refute, it kind of comes under non-dimensional, but non-directional, right? Non-directional. So what do we mean by that? That you cannot say that Allah is in a certain direction, right? So when we pray, for instance, towards the Kaaba, we're not saying Allah is there, right? Uh, when we raise our hands to do qunut, some people they think Allah is up high. He's in the heavens, right? Yes. Non-Muslims think it, but even some Muslims believe this, unfortunately. Yes. Yeah.
The fact that understanding Allah is really
Yes. Yes. Ahsantum. Yeah. Yes, exactly. No, very good point. I mean, this. So then, why do we raise our hands for qunut, or why do people do this and they're making dua? What do you guys think?
It's a sign of greatness. I mean, you're not gonna point at the ground and
Yeah.
pray. It's just about something with the mind.
rain comes from the sky. That's where I think it comes from.
That's actually you're
Rain
very.
comes
So
from
someone came to Imam al-Rida alayhi salam and asked him this question: that how come is it that we do this
Uh-huh.
if Allah is not up there,
It's not
right?
good.
So Imam Rida told him, "Have you not read the verse in the Quran? وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ." There's a verse in the Quran that in the heavens is basically your sustenance and what you have been promised, right? So basically, Allah gave, or the Imam gave him this verse, and he said, "Look, Allah Himself has said the sustenance is from the heavens." So by putting your hands out, it's basically you're doing istiqbal, or you're accepting, you're receiving Allah's bounties, right? That are going to come down to you, Allah's rizq that is going to descend upon you, right? So you're showing your humility, but you're also showing your receptiveness to Allah's bounties, right? So that's why you do it. It's not because Allah is up there,
No,
right?
you're basically putting yourself down here.
you're
Yeah.
like a satellite dish.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like
Yes, brother Rashid. Oh, yes, that's right. Exactly. That's according to this hadith, this narration.
reflective.
Yes.
What does the word khaliq mean?
Khaliq means the creator, right?
Is it creation? Because usually when you think of a creator, you think of someone outside of it who is outside of his creation.
Right.
I don't know if that applies to Allah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 'Cause I don't think creation is like I don't know. So you think it's like more like molding?
No, khalaqa actually has multiple meanings in Arabic. One of them is taqdir, that Allah apportioned, you know. So for instance, Allah, when Allah is talking about Allah creating the human being in all the stages in the embryo, going from one stage to the next, at the end of it, He says, فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ, right? So this khaliqeen is referring to that tasweer of the human being from stage to stage to stage, right? That this is فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ, right?
So
So khaliqeen is at the very end, yeah, al-khaliqeen. So you can say Allah is khaliq in the sense that He's the only one who creates from nothing, right? No, no, everything else we're maybe we're sana in the sense that we can make something from pre-existing stuff, pre-existing materials, right? But Allah creates from nothing, right? But there's also another meaning in Arabic for khalaqa of taqdir, qaddara, right? So for instance, الذي خلق الموت والحياة, right? الذي خلق الموت والحياة. Some of the mufassirin, this is a verse from Surah Mulk, right? The one who created uh, life and death, right? What does this mean? Life and death. What does creating death mean? Death is absence of life, right? So some people are like, well, why does it say خلق الموت والحياة? It starts with موت first, right? So like, what does that mean? So it means يعني قدر الموت, right? نحن قدرنا بينكم الموت. There's another verse of the Quran that القرآن يفسر بعضه بعضا, right? The Quran, you can do tafsir of one part of the Quran with another. نحن قدرنا بينكم الموت وما نحن بمسبوقين. This is a verse from, I think, واقعة, right? So Allah has apportioned death between you as human beings. This is your fate. As mortals, we're all going to die. So الذي خلق الموت والحياة. خلق الموت بمعنى التقدير, right? This means Allah apportioned death for the human beings, right? So this is one of the interpretations. So this shows the word khalaqa. Yes, it does have gradations in meaning, but it's about the context. You have to look at the context, right, to see what does it specifically mean in a certain context. Um, but I hope that explains it. But yes, there are two meanings of khalaqa. One, to create min ghayri shay, right? Am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in am humul khaliqun. There's a verse of the Quran, right? So creating from nothing, right? That's one of the meanings. And then the second meaning is to fashion or to design or to apportion, right? Yes. وإذ تخلق من الطين كهيئة الطير, for instance. Yes, exactly. Yes. Molding or apportioning or basically, you know, yes. Yes. Ahsantum, ahsantum. Okay, so that was a little bit that was a good question though. Yes. Let's see. All right. So the other thing we have to refute is what we call uh, al-hawadith. Okay, I'm going to say no movement or change, right? And this kind of is a corollary. It comes out of this notion of non-temporal, right? But what do we remember? We talked about how some people they say like Allah becomes angry, Allah becomes pleased, right? Right? Mo- Motion and these types of things. Yeah, so we're going to go into that. I think some questions were brought up last week. So we're going to go into a bit more detail about that today, inshallah. But no movement or change, right? So Allah doesn't have any, because Allah is outside of the dimension of time. So this idea that Allah changes with circumstance or he changes his mind, right? These things we refute, right? Right. Ahsantum. Um, so that's clear. Also, no limits, right? So you can't say Allah has a had. A had in Arabic we mean like a limit or a boundary, right? Allah has no boundaries, right? And this comes again from that non-physicality, right? That he cannot be subsumed within a space, right?
no limits in regards to space, or no limits in regards to
Both, both
can he
apply in
limit
this.
himself if he decides to?
He
He did restrict himself with adad.
Yeah. So this is a very good question. Allah, I mean, Allah is mukhtar. Allah is al-fa'il al-mukhtar. He can do whatever he wants, right? Uh, but because of kataba ala nafsihi rahmah, right? Allah has decreed upon himself to be merciful, right? For instance, so the thing is, someone who is all powerful, all wise, right? All knowing, right? These attributes that Allah has, they necessitate, or when we say necessitate, we don't mean that Allah is forced to do anything,
So he
right?
has no inherent limits.
No inherent
He
limits
can
whatsoever.
limit himself.
But Allah chosen to do only the good. He could do qabih if he wanted to. He could do qabih, and we went la yus'alu amma yaf'alu wa hum yus'alun. He could basically, this verse of the Quran means that Allah is not questioned about what He does, whereas human beings we're the ones who are questioned, right? Now, but of course, so Allah could do whatever He wants, but the reality is that Allah Himself, because qabih, we believe as Shia in something called al-husn wal-qubh al-aqliyayn, right? So what this means is we believe in rational beauty and rational reprehensibility, right? Rational goodness and rational ugliness. There are things which are just by nature like dhulm, right? Oppressing someone. That by nature is something reprehensible or disgusting, right? So Allah would never do something which is disgusting because He's pure knowledge, He's pure wisdom, right? He's pure power. Somebody who only there's a line. I think I've said this many times, right? You remember the line from Sahifa, Abdullah? وَإِنَّمَا يَحْتَاجُ إِلَى الظُّلْمِ الضَّعِيفِ. Only someone who is weak resorts to oppression, right? Allah is not weak. Allah has no deficiency. He has no da'f within him, right? So how could He possibly do any dhulm, right? That doesn't mean that if Allah wanted to do dhulm, He certainly could, but He doesn't, because that would go against the dictates of His wisdom, of His power, of His knowledge, right? So that's the answer to that question.
It's like basically it's by definition. The circle will never get square.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's inefficient. He's not inefficient.
It's like
We brought in the contingency
no, it's not, because look, I can ask you this question, Brother Muhammad. I can say, um, could you, if you wanted, could you like kill your own family?
I have the physical ability.
You have the physical ability. You could go and just kill your own family, right? But you don't.
No,
So that's a limitation on you. Why aren't you killing your family?
that's not my character.
Yeah. So so that's the same thing when it comes to Allah, right? I mean, Allah is so perfect. So I mean,
His character.
it's not in Allah's character. Yes, you could say in this way, but it's not. I mean, Allah's sifat are so perfect that He would not, if He wanted to, He's al-fa'il al-mukhtar. He can do whatever He wants, right? But He wouldn't do those things because it's just the same way as human beings would not do something so reprehensible. And that's not a limitation on us. It's just we wouldn't do things that would, it's like saying, the fact that something exists, it necessitates that it does not exist, right? It does not exist if it exists, right? So if you say, oh well, Allah caused me to exist, he does that mean since He made me exist that
All my sins are
he's not
absolved.
powerful enough to make me not exist because I'm existing, right? It doesn't compute. Allah has no boundaries, no limitations, but this is just a human way of thinking, right? The reality though is Allah transcends all boundaries. He transcends all limitations. But He's al-fa'ilul mukhtar. He can choose to do whatever He wants, right? Without any boundaries, without any limitations, right? But this question that you brought up, we're going to go into it in more depth. It's a very deep question, and it will come under our discussion of omnipotence. But I think we won't have time to cover it this week, but in the coming weeks, inshallah.
Both adil and rahma are both things that we should go deep into because, just like you said, one can call it a limit.
Yes, of course.
So the thing is that Allah, He's the creator of these categories. But we can't take Allah under these categories because He's the one who created them. So He can't be limited by any of them because He created the limits. He created
evil
like,
language.
yeah, He created these categories. So He can't be, yeah, so He can't be placing adil and then Allah and saying, oh, Allah is only between this adil, this circle of adil. Allah is only between this. He's the one who created this. So He's on top of it. He is the adil.
So you're gonna have to define Allah Ta'ala differently in that situation if He is the Adil. Or if He defines the Adil think the whole idea in our school of Bayt is that adala is something that we can comprehend. And I think
Yes.
that's the big
So
need, honestly. Comprehend, like, me and you as reasonable people can be like, this is adala, this is not adala. This is unjust, this is just.
Yeah, but we go based on rules and laws that God put forth. For example, um, there's a lot of things that I done. For example, out of the context of Islam, if you're a person who
What is adala?
if you never heard about Islam and you came and you saw a person in the sun, right, a man and a woman in the sun at the same time, right, and a woman that's wearing a hijab and wearing all black, and a dude who's not wearing anything, sitting in the sun, and the woman is pretty much sweating, being in a hot place, and you're like not sweating because of sweat. So in that sense, what you're gonna say, that's not either, right? But if you're gonna hear about the reasons and everything, that Islam for that's kind. So our adala is not because we define it as adala. It's because Islamic laws that God teaches something like that. Otherwise, we're just gonna be a democratic state like America, not like because uh, democratic states here think whatever the person, if you're not harming any person, if you're not doing anything, if you're not like invading anyone's space, you just do whatever you want.
I feel like Islam is like,
Not in a, not really because there are some things that he just refers to that Allah values us. One thing that's so for example, you can't question Allah. You can when Allah questions you in a democratic way, you can question whoever you want.
uh, I think what I'm trying to talk about, what I'm, the issue with adala for me is that no, Allah says that it's something we comprehend without. That's the way I've understood it, and that's the way I would. It's adala not based off of sharia. I think you're comparing adala with sharia, and I don't think that. And that's not what I'm saying.
You're referring adala
As a concept.
as a concept.
Yeah. So, and when I ask you, what do you think adala is? I don't think adala is sharia. Adala is a penal wasn't at the cliff.
Yeah.
That's what adala is. Um, so I don't think adala is sharia.
what?
But that's
We didn't put it, but we could put it. Yes.
based on
Maybe
without
al-hub.
for example, God put the good and the bad. Maybe it's not.
I don't. What do you mean put it?
So God created the good things. He created everything on earth. So he created a lot of good things, and he created these things. He created also indecent. He created a lot of things. So you can differentiate between good or bad. So, so
I'm talking about adala. So what is adala? It's a calculation. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying adala is a very specific thing, and I think we need to go and delve into it a little deeper.
Yeah.
Adala is
So we're gonna definitely go into
measuring
this.
and calculation.
I think one of the very key things, one of the principles of the Shia, which are different from the Asha'ira are the most of the Sunnis. They believe that Allah could take all the believers and throw them into hell, and all the disbelievers and put them in heaven, right? And it would be still not be dhulm, right? It would still not be oppression because Allah said, "I don't do dhulm." So if Allah were to do that, it would be complete justice, you know. But we Shia don't believe that. We say Allah would never do that because that is that is clearly dhulm, you know. And we don't believe that Allah would ever do any type of oppression, right? And so we believe in al-husn wal-qabh al-aqliyain. These are very important principles of the Shia that we believe there's something called rational goodness and rational reprehensibility. Behaving in an oppressive way is a sign of someone who doesn't have either you oppress people for a couple of reasons. Either you don't have knowledge, you don't have sufficient knowledge, right? You have some type of deficiency, so you're trying to get some type of benefit from someone as a consequence, right? Or you don't have power, right? You don't have the capacity to administer justice. Allah is al qadir, right? He's al alim, right? And he's al kamil, right? He has all the perfections. So why would he ever commit dhulm, right? There's no need. There's no reason why Allah would commit dhulm. So any type of uh, injustice is completely against Allah's wisdom, right? So but we're going to go through this topic in more depth because there's a lot more, especially when we get to what do the Ash'aris believe, what do the Maturidis believe, what do the Mu'tazilis believe. And we'll go into those in more detail. But inshallah, I want to focus in on this because this was some questions that came up last week about, okay, well, how do we interpret some of these verses of the Quran that talk about wajhullah, right? There's وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ, that the face of your Lord, the countenance of your Lord will remain, for instance, right? Or al-ayn, right? There's a verse of the Quran that says with Prophet Nuh, his ark, right? تَجْرِي بِأَعْيُنِنَا, it was going over the water, in front of our eyes, right? In front of our in the plural here, eyes, right? The eyes of Allah, right? So al-yad, right?
You're actually making me think of certain verses that make me think of fusion, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says Yadullah fawqa aydihim.
Yes, yes. Yadullah fawqa aydim is a perfect example of what we're going to say about yad. So al-yamin, right? There's a verse, right? وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ وَالْأَرْضُ جَمِيعًا قَبْضَتُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ, right? The heavens are folded in the right hand of Allah, right? There's a verse like this in the Quran. So these are what we call as-sifat al-khabariyah in Arabic. So as-sifat al-khabariyah are basically attributes that Allah uses to describe Himself in the Quran, right? They're attributes that Allah has told us He has, right? He's told us He has a wajh. He's told us He has an ayn. He has a yad. He has a yameen. He has a right hand, right? He has a saq, right? A saq, the the the
Shin.
what is it? Yes, but the this what is it?
Makes you
The
fall off.
yes, the Sunnis, they believe that Allah, yoma yukshafu an saq. They believe that on the day of judgment, Allah will put his his leg in the hellfire, and then the hellfire will say, "Hal min mazid? Is there more people? Is there more people to burn?" Allah will then put his leg in the fire and will extinguish kind of that that thirst of hellfire for more people, right? So this is what they believe. Ar-ruh, right? So somebody asked about this last week, that there's some verses of the Quran that say, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, right? That Allah breathed His spirit into Adam, for instance, right? Or al-arsh, this word al-arsh, Allah says, ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa, that Allah, Allah has a throne, right? Al-arsh is a throne, right? Or we said, again, Allah doesn't have any type of movement or change. So this idea of Allah having pleasure, Allah is being pleased, or He's loving, right? Or He's angry, these things imply change, and imply change in emotions, right? So this is in the Quran though, right? Like غضب الله عليهم, that Allah was angry with them, right? Or that in tashkuru yardahu lakum, if you're grateful, then Allah is pleased with you, right? رضي الله عنهم. We have all these expressions, right? So how do you explain that, right? So these are what we call sifat al-khabari. Again, al-qurb, right? Inna Allah qareebun min al-muhsinin. Allah is remember we said Allah has no directionality. He has no bodiness. He has no physical body. So how do you Allah is close to the or nahnu aqrabu ilayhi min hablil warid, that Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. How do you explain that, right? Or an-nisyan, right? That nasullah fanasiyahum, that they forgot Allah, so Allah forgot them. How do you explain that? I mean, does Allah forget? I mean, Allah is perfect. Allah, we said Allah is alim, right? He's yes, brother Bilal.
Can you give like where you getting like these verses from? Like
Oh, these are in the Quran. These are all Quranic verses. Yeah.
or like because like how like our Sunni brothers believe that Allah sits in a throne in heaven. Can you just say like when?
Yeah. I mean,
And
you
so they decide for like ayatul kursi from like this is what it's
yes. I mean,
How they understand this.
this is
Not everybody, but I would say
yeah.
not
So
even a majority. I don't know.
I would say so. We're gonna go through the different opinions about. We're gonna go through the different opinions about these what we call as-sifat al-khabariyah.
I was gonna say that these attributes are
That's okay. That's okay.
There's a brother online. They're saying that
Oh yeah.
Sunnis don't believe in such.
No, so
Oh, so we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to
so
it.
there's
Through
different.
fitra, you're right. A lot of them actually through their fitra, through just their innate.
Y-
The
See what,
Salafis, they'll think this is actually
well, brother.
ridiculous.
I think what
They have to look at the books.
the Ash'ari, the Maturidis, they'll go into that. So the Mu'tazilis believe in sifatu asma wa fa'al.
Yes.
So it comes down to what is your Sunni school of aqidah. But when you bring up these sifat, I think of ayat al-muhkamat wa ayat al-mutashabihat.
Yes.
So
Right.
I would say these sifat are mutashabih, and that the way I need to understand them is allegorically, where it's not literally being, it's not a, it's not a ruling at the end,
Yeah.
but it's trying to describe something or trying to allude to something.
Right. So you make a very good point, and we're gonna get to that because this is the view of the Shia. But um, just finishing off as-sukhriya, right? As-sukhriya. So for instance, sakhir Allahu minhum, right? Uh, right? That Allah basically like ridicules them, right? Or for instance, there's a yukhadi'un Allah wa huwa khadi'uhum. They try to deceive Allah, and He is deceiving them, right? He is the one who deceives them. Does Allah deceive, right? Wa makaru wa makar Allah. Allah is doing makar. He's like plotting and planning, you know. Like I mean, does Allah plot and plan? I mean, those things are beyond
I
Allah's.
actually got made fun of in high school by kids calling me God's plotter.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a common argument against
Islam.
Islam is God because they use makr in the wrong
Yeah,
definition to begin with.
he's making plots.
Because
Yeah.
making plans is different than the evil plans.
Yeah.
But that's a separate issue. The issue here is actually even more. It's temporal. The issue is you're making plans like you're sitting there with a map, like over time making a plan.
Yeah.
You make a plan, you do it over time. Like that's a bigger issue here.
Yeah.
But they
So-
make fun of us because they think it's an evil plan.
Yeah.
Allah's making evil plans.
So there's so many examples of this. I mean, I didn't even put all of them on the board, but there's like, for instance, other verses of the Quran would say that Allah is going to come. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ, like وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا, for instance, right? That your Lord is going to come, right? Right? Yeah. So many verses like this that we can talk about, right? But how do people interpret these verses of the Quran, right? We said that these are called as-sifat al-khabariyah. These are attributes that Allah has mentioned for himself in the Quran, right? So we now have a dispute amongst Muslim theologians, right? Muslim scholars of theology about how do you understand this, right? So there's four opinions, right? So there's four opinions. One, a big group of the Salafis, you know, the Wahhabis, we will say in general, although they prefer to call themselves Salafis, is they believe in tajseem, right? So they believe, no, Allah has said He has these things, so He must have these things. He must have a face, He must have an eye, He must have a hand, He must be, on a throne, He must be like, getting upset and happy, and like He must be doing all these things because He said it in the Quran, right?
They seriously believe that, like the Wahhabis.
Yes, they seriously believe that.
Wow.
They seriously believe that. And they say this is the opinion of the Salaf. Whenever they start talking about the Salaf know that this is what they're talking about. This is they believe.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What do they believe in that makes them different from other Sunni sects or even Muslim sects?
Yeah.
Oh, that's like
This
that's their
is
main-
one of their core beliefs.
Wow.
And they say this is the original Tawheed, right? So Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, this of course he's kind of the founder of these the Salafi movement in the modern day. He wrote a whole book. His Kitab al-Tawheed is all talking about how Allah has all these attributes. And he's shab, amrad, he's like a boy with curly hair. They believe these things. Like they literally believe this. Yeah. So, so this is astaghfirullah, but this is really what they believe. So yeah, but they use these
I never knew that.
they use these verses and they say, look, Allah has said this is kalamullah. This is the word of Allah. If Allah wanted to use a different word, He could have.
Yeah, it's literally.
But He used these words. Yes. Textual literalism. Right. So this is, I mean, even I know your Sunni friend online has said that this is not what the Sunnis believe, but at least the Salafis This is their belief, right? So now the second opinion, right? Second opinion is what most of actually the Sunnis believe. They're what we call Ash'aris, right? What do they say? They say that actually Allah has said all these attributes, so He must have them. He must have a hand. He must have a face. He must have like an eye. He must have all these things, and so they believe uh, that Allah has all these things. But they say you can't ask how. You can't ask. They call it bila kayf. Like lahu yadun bila kayf, that he has a hand, but you can't ask how does he have a hand, what type of hand does he have. We don't know. We don't know, but we know he has a hand because he said he has a hand. We don't know how he has, like, what is his eye like, or like even if it's like human eyes, but he said he has an eye, so he must have an eye, right? This is what they call it. They call it balkafa. Balkafa in Arabic means bila kayf. It's like an abbreviation, but this is their belief, right? That Allah has all these attributes, but we can't ask how, right? What do you guys think about this view?
It's dogmatic.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
It's double easy.
Yeah, it's still khifi. It's like, oh, well, Allah said he has these things, so he must have them. We don't have the right to question, right?
God had a son.
Yeah.
But
I think it's the same idea.
isn't that like from their point of view, isn't that like a valid point? Like, oh, they're reading the Arabic language. God says, for example, al-arsh, right? Yes, he says al-arsh, but you don't know what arsh, you don't know how the arsh looks like. Isn't that like a valid point from their perspective?
So
Isn't
so
that like,
I would say
I mean,
all
of
the
course he doesn't have a arsh, like a little arsh, but
yeah.
you know,
So I think you're getting to something here in the sense that they say, well, Allah used these words, right? And we have to go by the words, right? We are not gonna superimpose our own understanding here. We're just gonna say, well, it is what it is. Allah has said this, right? And we're gonna say that He has a hand, He has a face, He has these things, right? But so this still, though, it carries, so there's two problems with this, right? Two major problems with it. One is it actually makes absolutely no sense. It's complete nonsense. Because I mean, the word yad, right? It by definition has a kayfiyah, right? The word yad, it has a meaning behind it. When you say hand, hand has a meaning. Hand literally means a hand, you know? I mean, you can't say something's a hand, but it's not really a hand, right?
You can't call
I
it
mean,
for a hand.
so you can't say God has a arsh, but oh, we don't know.
but actually, no, He has an arsh, but there's no kayf about it. You can't.
Yeah.
There's no dimensions. There's nothing. There's just
Yeah, that's
like we don't actually know what it is. But he must have used the word arsh, so it's basically you're just taking the words and you're stripping them of every single meaning, right?
yeah.
It's like lexically, it means absolutely nothing, right? Yes, it's absolutely insulting. It doesn't make any sense, right? But yes, yeah, but you see how inconsistent and illogical it is, right? But this is their notion of, it's called balkafa. This is their type of way of thinking, right?
Reconciling it.
Way of reconciling it, but it's complete nonsense. It doesn't make any sense because words in Arabic language have by definition, they have a kayfiyah. They have by definition, that's the basic how do you get a definition of a word if you don't have any kayf,
Yeah.
right? So that doesn't make any sense. So that's the big criticism of this view, right? Second thing is it's anthropomorphic, right? Because you're basically saying that Allah has a hand, He has body parts, but then you're to sort of absolve yourself of responsibility of being actually an anthropomorphist. You say, oh well, I don't really know how He has these things, right? But it's like you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. You're trying to make Allah a physical being, but then at the same time you're trying to say, oh well, I don't really know if He really has those things.
It's an oxymoron or a paradox, which is an infinite hand.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense. The hand, by definition, is.
So this is exactly why this point of view, and actually this point of view is the dominant Sunni position. And I mean, I would challenge your Sunni friend. He can go ask his scholars if he wants, but this is actually what they believe.
Some of them may actually be jahil in their own tenets,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
following their fitrah.
I think when you follow your fitrah, you realize the truth of the actual position that we should be holding to.
I
But
would argue the majority actually are following the fitrah. Alhamdulillah.
yes, mashallah. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
I had a Sunni friend in high school, and I told him that this is what Sunnis believe, and he was like, "No, we don't believe that. That's ridiculous," you know. And I was like, "Man, you know, if you go to your scholars and you ask them, this is actually what they believe," you know. But the thing is, yes, you're right. The fitra just, you know, al-fitra to ta'bah, right? It's just your fitra doesn't accept this, right? So okay, so then the third view is that basically Allah used all these terms, right? These individuals, they're called al-mu'attila, right? So al-mu'attila are those who just basically leave it completely. They say, look, we have no right to ask about any of this. This is all like beyond our terminology, all beyond our understanding. Yes, even before Tawqifi, it's like, okay, well, Allah use these terms, but look, Allah just wants you to believe in Him in the last day. Stop asking about all these details, like in the Quran. Who cares, you know? Like, so this is their view. They're like, Allah is not going to question you on whether you had a hand or not, or you know. So don't even investigate. It's not worth it, you know. So that's their view. Now the problem with this view is that Allah used these terms in His eternal book. So you're basically saying that half of or many verses of the Quran are complete nonsense and they're completely irrelevant, right? They're not for you. They're not like, I mean, Allah revealed this book for the human beings to get guidance, right? And to have ma'rifah of Him. And you're saying, oh, it's all mysterious. We're not even gonna worry about it. You know, that again is a view that is insulting to the Quran, right? So what's the fourth view is what brother Muhammad mentioned, right? Um, the fourth view is that we take an allegorical approach or an allegorical understanding, and this is the view of the Mu'tazilis and the Shia, right? The Shia Imamiyya, we believe that you have to take these words, and you see each word, there's a linguistic kind of literal meaning of it, and then there's a figurative meaning, right? There's an abstract kind of majazi, or what we call metaphorical meaning, right? Right? So this majazi meaning or this metaphorical meaning, we have to look at these words and take them because we know that Allah doesn't have a face. We know that Allah doesn't have an eye. We know Allah doesn't have a hand. So we have to look in the Quran at these verses, and we use what we call qara'in, or basically textual, contextual clues within the Quran itself to show that this doesn't mean literally face. It doesn't mean literally eye. It rather, for instance, when Allah says wajh, right? He means his that. He means himself. He means وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ. It's like Allah Himself, right? Or you can say wajhu rabbik, yes, in the sense of the direction or the those things that take you closer to Allah. That's wajh, you know. Al-ayn is Allah's ri'aya or His himaya, or you know, Allah's protection, basically. Allah's protection or Allah's supervision, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Get the khabar.
Ahsantum, ahsantum. Yeah, so basically the way that our scholars have understood this, the mutakallimin, they say they say al-alim bil masmu'at, and so basically Allah knows everything that is said, everything that any sound that is made, Allah knows it, right? Al-alim bil masmu'at, that's the meaning of as-sami', right? The one who knows the things that are said or the things that can be heard, right? So and then al-alim bil mubsirat, those things that can be perceived, right? Allah knows them. That's the meaning of basir, right? The meaning of basir is Allah is aware, Allah knows all the things that can be seen, right? That doesn't mean that he has eyes or he has a hearing, right? So this is the meaning that brother Rashid was getting at, mashallah. Yeah. So okay, so I mean, we can go through all of these and go through the linguistic meanings of them. You
I
know.
just wanted to add, because usually when we want to learn something, we as humans have to use our senses. So how do we perceive the world around us? We have to use our senses. So the closest thing that Allah can help us relate to Him and His vast knowledge of all things is through
It's
the
also
senses that we
because of you being a creation that has voice or has a way to create voice or to create sound. It uses that concept. If you didn't have voices, you wouldn't say
you would
something.
use a different
You would say something.
yeah, something else.
Awesome.
Conceptually easy.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we could go through each one of these, but um, let me just go to ruh because I think there was a question about this last week. So Allah
I
says,
think eventually we should cover all of them, honestly.
"Oh, should we? Okay.
No, no, I'm saying eventually.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, let's go to the ones we talked about last week.
Okay. Yeah. 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 So
We should cover all of these
so
figure out why.
I mean, each, and we have to look at the Quranic we can look at the Quranic verses. I don't know if this topic interests you guys to go into more depth on, but I mean, this is a bahth we could do just on these specific attributes, But let me go to ruh because I think that was the question specifically last week, right? So Allah says a couple things in the Quran, couple verses where this word ruh is used, right? So one of the verses is talking about Adam, right? فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. The command to the angels, right? That when I have completely finished my fashioning of Adam and I've blown my spirit into him, then fall down basically in prostration to him, right? So this is a verse of the Quran that mentions this concept of نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. Allah is saying, I breathed my spirit into Adam, right? So, okay, does Allah have a spirit? Right? Because we said Allah doesn't have any parts. There's no compartmentalization. So what is this that Allah has a ruh? Yes. So this ruhi, we have narrations actually about this from the Imams that some individuals came to the Imams and asked him about this verse, right? So he said, don't we say Baytullah al-Haram, right? We say that the Kaaba is Baytullah al-Haram. Does that mean that actually this is Allah's house, like actually, that this is part of his dwelling? It doesn't mean that his dwelling. Or if he says Rasuli, right? Amantum bi rasuli wa azartumuhu. There's a verse of the Quran that you should believe in my messenger, right? So does that that ya at the end, that ya indicates in Arabic my, right? So ruhi, rasuli, baiti, that ya at the very end indicates ownership, right? So it means that this spirit belongs to Allah, but it doesn't mean it is Allah, right? The spirit is one of the creations of Allah, right? وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي, right? That this ruh is min amri rabbi. It's one of the commands of my Lord, right? But it doesn't mean that this is actually Allah's ruh, right? So this is very important points to understand, inshallah. Yes, nafakhtu in the sense of people say, okay, well, this is of course in the figurative sense that the spirit enters into Adam, right? But this is again metaphorical. Allah doesn't blow into anything, right? So yes, this is the understanding of this verse, and each one of these concepts we can go and we can do ta'wil of it, right? Okay, inshallah. Yeah. Oh yes. Okay. So I think these questions that Abdullah had brought. So there's a verse of the Quran, right, that we were discussing last week, and we'll close off with this point, inshallah, because I know mashallah, we've gone quite over time, but mashallah. So this verse of the Quran, it says, وَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ قال ربي أرني أنظر إليك, right? قال لن تراني ولكن انظر إلى الجبل فإذا استقر مكانه فسوف تراني. And then the verse says فلما تجلى ربه للجبل جعله دكا وخر موسى صاعقا, right? So let me just translate it quickly, right? So it says when Prophet Musa came to the mountain basically for that appointment with Allah, right? He said that he was speaking to Allah. He said, "Rabbi arini anzur ilayk." Oh my Lord, allow me to look upon you. Allow me to see you, right? So what was the answer of Allah? He says, قَالَ لَن تَرَانِي. He said, Allah responded to Prophet Musa, he said, you will never see me, right? But rather look at that mountain, right? And if it stays in its place, then you will definitely see me, right? So then at that point, Allah says, فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ. Then Allah manifested to that mountain, right? Right? And when that happened, the mountain just crumbled in its spot, right? Completely shattered. And Musa, he just fell unconscious, right? And so this verse is one of the verses that first off, let me go into this point because we had talked about it last week, and then we'll get to your point. So we say that this verse proves that it's not possible to see Allah, right? Because Allah said, "Lan tarani," you will never see me, right? So remember what I told you guys last week. I said that our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah, what they say is that uh, this verse actually proves that Allah can be seen. Because Musa asked, and are you going to say Musa is jahil? He doesn't know that Allah can't be seen, right? Yeah. So I want that was your homework last time. So tell me, what do you guys think? What do you think about that argument?
From my simple understanding is that the knowledge of the people who have come afterwards is greater than the ones from before. And we believe that our imams are greater than the prophets that came before.
So you think Prophet Musa just didn't know that?
I think maybe he had a fault, maybe his aqidah needed, because even Ibrahim said Adnan for his heart when he
Yes.
asked for, Allah, show me how you bring life back.
Yes. Rabbi arini kayfa tuhyi al-mauta. Right. Yeah.
So
Ahsant. Yeah.
maybe maybe if Musa had the same situation where he was like, can I see God?
Yeah.
Is it like maybe he didn't know?
Sure. Okay. So Brother Muhammad Shah had his it's a viewpoint. Inshallah, we'll go through it. Inshallah. Any other thoughts? So his viewpoint is perhaps Prophet Musa just didn't know. So the argument that the Mujassima make, the people who believe in anthropomorphism, they say that, look, you Shias, you say, oh, Allah said that He's not going to be seen, or like He will never be seen. This just applies to the dunya, but in the akhirah, Allah can be seen. And they say, what's the proof? The proof is that Prophet Musa asked Allah to show him Himself. And Prophet Musa, either you Shias, you believe that Prophet Musa is jahil, that he doesn't know that Allah cannot be seen. Otherwise, why would he ask for something which is by definition impossible? If it's impossible to see Allah, you're saying a prophet would ask Allah that Allah let me see you. That proves that Allah can be seen. So yeah, la tudrikul absar. You're using another verse of the Quran, but how would you answer this shubha, this contention that they bring? Yeah, that Prophet Musa didn't know. Why is Prophet Musa asking Allah? It must mean that either Prophet Musa didn't know. So you're going to say Allah that Prophet Musa is.
That's another big option.
Yes. That is the answer. You got it. So you got it. So Ma'mun, right? He called Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, right, for munadara debate, right? And he was questioning the isma of the prophets, right? The infallibility of the prophets. And he brought this same exact objection to Prophet or to Imam al-Rida alayhi salam. He said, look, you believe that Prophet Musa is like a great, ulul azm prophet, one of these greatest prophets. Why is he asking Allah to show him himself if he's really so great, right? So Imam al-Rida alayhi salam told him it wasn't like this. You're not understanding the verse correctly. What happened was, basically, the people of Musa, they told him, "Lan nu'mina laka hatta nara Allah jahra." We won't believe in you until you show Allah us physically. You have to show us, right? So because Prophet Musa told them, like, Allah spoke to me. Allah actually physically spoke to me. There was a tree, right, from which Allah's voice emanated, right? Allah had a voice emanating from that tree. Of course, a voice that Allah created. Allah doesn't have a physical voice, but a voice that Allah created that would speak to Prophet Musa, right? So Prophet Musa told his people this and said, oh, we're not going to believe you until we actually see Allah, show us Allah, right? So anyways, so then Prophet Musa, he told them, look, appoint 70 people from amongst you, and I will take them with me, and we will go for this meeting with Allah, right? And on their way, right, they again started demanding from Prophet Musa that we want you to actually show us if you're truly a prophet of Allah, show us this Allah that you speak of, right? So right there, all of them died. Allah sent a lightning bolt and just annihilated all of them, right? So after this happened, um, basically Prophet Musa supplicated to Allah and he said, "Oh Allah, you know, uh, Rabbi law shit, ahlaktani min qabli wa iyai, or ahlaktahum min qabli wa iyai. If you wanted, oh Allah, you would have destroyed them and me even from before. Atuhlikuna bima fa'ala sufaha'u minna." This is another verse of the Quran, right? That will you destroy us because of what the Jahil people have said, what the foolish people have said, right? Right? So then when Prophet Musa, right, when Prophet Musa said this dua, right, Allah brought all the Banu Israel back, the 70 that were basically killed, right, by this lightning bolt. So
from the Jannah, right?
no, this is before. This is before, right? So this is just because of how basically daring these people were to ask Allah such a question. After Allah did all of these things to them, saved them from Fir'aun and everything, right? They're asking that they must see Allah physically, otherwise they won't believe. So it's like this level of kufr, right? They deserve to be annihilated. But they Allah brought them back to life. He resurrected them. Then they told Prophet Musa that, look, we asked and Allah annihilated us. Maybe if you ask, why don't you ask Allah to show you himself? And Prophet Musa told him, like, look, Allah's not physical. Like this, you're just being nonsensical, And they told him, we're not gonna believe. We're not gonna believe until you go ask him. You're his prophet. You say he talks to you and all this stuff. Why don't you go ask him, right? And if you don't do it, then we're not. This is how stubborn these guys were, right? So they literally told this to Prophet Musa. So Prophet Musa said, okay, like I'm scared to ask Allah this, because like Allah annihilated all you guys. You want me to be like in the fire now, So Allah revealed to him that ask me, ask me and I will give you the jawab. I'll give you the jawab and I won't blame you for the ignorance of your people. So that's why Prophet Musa asked, right? That's the reason. It wasn't because he was jahil. It was because he was forced because his people were that stubborn, right? So this is the answer, actually, right?
Did
So
they believe after that?
I'm-
These are the
we have their modern manifestations in front of us, man. These guys, they never believe,
These
man.
are the Yahud, right?
Yes, yes.
These are the Bani Israel.
This might be an off question, but
A lot of them.
what happened to the people who actually believe in the religion? Like, for example, the Christians, and like, well, like I know, but like, what, like, for example, I was, never mind, they would have been dead when the next book was revealed.
Yeah. No, but if they truly tried to follow the truth to the best of their abilities, Allah will reward them, of course.
Because I was connecting to like what happened to them when the next book was revealed,
Yeah.
but it was a big.
They tried to find out. It continues until the Khatam Nabi Prophet Muhammad. That's one who came here. But the people who followed Jesus at the time, who believed in Jesus fully, are the same people, are probably our ancestors. They believed in the Prophet at that time. Right? It's the same
They're
thing.
Muslims.
Yes. And it's the same thing that the people, even after Prophet Muhammad, some people didn't believe the Prophet Muhammad didn't believe in that.
Even Aqidah, no, this is what we're talking about. This is
Yeah.
Yeah, even this stuff we still disagree upon.
Yeah.
We're all still
Until the
Muslims.
state
It's
Yes.
the same question, right? Remember, the Rawaha was talking about this same exact question back then, right? It's the same question that Banu Israel was asking, right? I want to see Allah, right?
And
We're talking about it again, same thing.
one thing is,
Well,
one thing about being one of the keys of being great is being serious. So if I'm saying I'm great, it's like someone can't that was my weak point. Someone can limit me, utilize me. You can't do. Imam Ali says in the hadith, "No one kisses me with the problem."
Ahsant, yeah. Yeah. But again, the veils were lifted. I wouldn't increase in certainty because Allah, he had reached that level of conviction, right? That he doesn't need any more. He doesn't need to see hellfire. He doesn't need to see heaven to believe in the akhirah, right? Yeah, because that's the level of his intellect, right? So I mean, but the reality is that Allah is not physical, right? And these people, they had such a primitive understanding, right? And even like we said, some Muslims, they still have this primitive understanding. So this is not something that's, completely extinguished. Like, it still exists. Even the Christians believe in these types of things. They believe in Allah coming into a physical body in Jesus and such. But you understand how this tawheed, uh, you know, there's a very famous sheikh. His name is Ahmed Salman. If you guys have ever heard of him, he's very famous. Yes, the Tunisian. He was a Maliki. He used to be a Maliki Sunni, and became Shia, right? And he said that, like, when he was reading, one of the first books he read before he became Shia was Nahj al-Balagha, right? And he had already gone through Sahih al-Bukhari and all these books, right? And he said that to him, it just immediately stood out. You read the first khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha, and you see how sublime the Tawheed is. You see how pure and pristine the concepts of Tawheed are. There's like no anthropomorphism at all. There's like just pure. فَمَنْ وَصَفَهُ فَقَدْ حَدَّهُ. Anybody who describes Allah has limited him, right? You see this pure Tawheed, and you compare it to Bukhari, like Allah taking his foot and putting it in hellfire, and like extinguishing all that's, its thirst for the disbelievers, like that. Like, you compare, the tawheed of Bukhari with the tawheed of Imam Ali alayhi salam, right? And you see there's such a huge difference, right? So that was immediately to him, he was like, this is the right path, because, so you can, but these are the things Allah's made this truth very clear, for us to. It's just a matter of having that insight to see the truth.
And clearly, and then the blog clearly shows you that Imam Ali is really educated person. Like, he believed he has this, oh yeah, intellectual, he has all the knowledge. Like, imagine, like Imam Muhammad is giving us a speech without using a word with the letter A. It's going to be really hard. And Imam Ali used a khutbah where he didn't use the letter alif.
Yeah,
And there's a khutbah
subhanallah.
that he didn't use a letter that has like a dot on top of it. No top of it.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy. It's like probably more hard than three.
Yeah, subhanallah. Yeah, no, it's absolutely mind-boggling, So, but this last question that you said about tajalla, so this verse, it says, فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ جَعَلَهُ دَكَّةً, right? That when Allah manifested Himself, or manifested on the mountain, right? Upon the mountain, it crumbled, right? So Brother Abdullah was asking, well, what does this manifestation mean, right? So tajalla in Arabic, it means to manifest, right? To become apparent, right? ظهر بمعنى ظهر, right? Uh, so it comes from the Arabic root is jala, right? And there's another verse of the Quran, وَلَوْلَا أَن كَتَبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْجَلَاءَ لَعَذَّبَهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا, right? When it's talking about the Yahud, how Allah removed them from their fortresses, that Allah made them do jala, He made them come out, right? So jala in Arabic has that meaning of coming out. So tajalla has this meaning of uh, basically coming out, or doing zuhur, right? Coming out to the fore, right? You can say. So what does it mean when Allah came out upon the mountain? Allah, like, did dhuhur, or onto the mountain? How would you understand this?
This actually made me think of Surah An-Nur.
Uh-huh.
Um, and you also made me think of like the Neoplatonic understanding of uh, Muslim philosophers. And so the way the Tajalli is that even in the physics of creation, there is a potential, or you have atoms. Atoms are made up of quarks and electrons and neutrons. I would say that at the base of it, there is something, and that's the way
Yeah. So good points. I think the key point is, so there is a Neoplatonic understanding of like manifestation, or rays, right, or these types of things. But from a linguistic standpoint, right, it means zuhur, right? It means to become apparent, right? So basically, that Allah, when his Lord, when Prophet Musa's Lord became apparent on the mountain, is literally how you would translate it, right? However, we have to understand allegory, right? We have to understand that Allah doesn't have a physical, appearance, or a physical being that goes onto a mountain, right? So the way to understand this is that it means tajalla amru rabbihi, right? That Allah, when Allah's affair, or his Allah's power manifested upon that mountain, right? It doesn't mean that Allah physically manifested upon it, right? But this is what they call al-idafa al-muqaddara. There's a idafa here that amru rabbihi tajalla, right? That فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ, it means فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى أَمْرُ رَبِّهِ لِلْجَبَلِ جَعَلَهُ دَكًّا, right? It means that the command of when the command of his Lord manifested upon that mountain, right? That's when it crumbled.
So I was
You could even say ilm, you could say ilmu rabbihi. Yeah, you could use, but you basically you have to allegorize it. You cannot take it in a literal sense because it's impossible. Allah is not physical, right? So this is the explanation that that we have. Now, some scholars,
So I brought up Surah An-Nur
yes,
because Allah also describes himself like he doesn't describe himself, but the nur of him and maybe the Tawin and Amru.
yes, yes. So that's actually, there are some riwayat we have that mention that this what happened, right, was that there was a first creation of Allah called al-karubiyin, these individuals who are like very close to the arsh of Allah. Yeah, the cherubs, I guess you could say, right? But this creation of Allah, they were amongst the first ones to accept the wilaya of the Ahlul Bayt, right? And their nur, their light, was what Allah manifested upon that mountain, and it just crumbled, you know. So, so basically, it's to show the power of, I mean, beyond. It's just that's just a creation of Allah, right? But just to show the weakness of the human being that it can't even take that, you know, just the light of that creation of Allah, right? And so this is what the riwayat mention about this specific, you know, verse. But if you even take it from if you want to just look at it from a purely linguistic standpoint, away from the riwayat, we have to look back to the tawheed that we have been taught by the Ahlul Bayt, and this verse, this is how it's interpreted. You cannot say that Allah physically manifested, right? And the other thing that is sometimes said is also this word tajalla. It also means idhar, right? So idhar in the sense that basically, so there's a difference between dhuhur and idhar in Arabic, right? So dhuhur means to make yourself apparent, right? That Allah made Himself apparent on the mountain, or Allah made something else apparent upon the mountain, right? What did Allah make apparent onto that mountain? His power, His authority, His command, right? So this tajalla has this meaning as well, right? So it usually has a reflexive meaning, but it can have a sense of, yes, tajallat qudratu, right? Yes, ahsantum, ahsantum. So I hope that makes sense. It's a very deep discussion we can have about it, but
What I'm finding is that you have to take the system.
yes,
You have to establish your yeah, you gotta establish
your aqidah strongly.
foundational concept of God, and that foundational concept of God is then used when you're understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran.
Yes,
So the reasoning and the is the is something that you take to the Quran
yes,
when you comprehend it.
you
Part of the tafsir process.
you have to have, you know, this verse, you know, right? فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. That when it comes to the Quran, right? You see these people who have deviance in their hearts, right? They follow that which is kind of ambiguous in the Quran, right? You know, ibtigha al-fitna wa ibtigha ta'wilih, right? They do it to create fitna, to create, you know, basically mischief, right? And they use these verses to, you know, trying to seek some type of deeper understanding of them, right? وَمَا يَعْلَمُ تَأْوِيلَهُ إِلَّا اللَّهُ. But you know, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ, right? Those who have deep knowledge, deeply rooted knowledge, and Allah, these are the ones who understand, right? The true nature of the true meaning of these types of verses. So I mean, I think that is a principle of the Quran that you'll see mentioned many times in the Quran, that, you know, يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا, right? Many people, they get deviated by the very same verses of the Quran that the believers use to get guidance, right? Because of their hearts being perverse, because of their aims being incorrect, right? So we have to always ask Allah for that hidayah. And I think the core thing that grounds us in having a deep understanding of the Quran is the narrations and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, right? So you always have to go back to the Ahlul Bayt and corroborate what you find, you know, what your interpretation is with the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, and then look at the Quran in that light. Sometimes, so there's some hadith we have, of course, that say take the hadith, compare them to the Quran, whatever ma wafaqa fi kitab Allah faqbaluh. Whatever goes with the Quran, then accept it, right? وما خالفه اعرضوه على الجدار. Whatever goes against the Quran, then just throw it to the side, throw it against the wall. So there's hadith that we have like this, right? So how do you interpret that then? Well, what we say is there are some narrations that we have that clearly go against the entire ruh of the Quran. They go against the entire spirit, the ethos of the Quran. We can't accept those, right? Yes, even amongst the Shia narrations. But those narrations that help to inform our understanding of the Quran, that give us a deeper appreciation, understanding of these sort of nuances of the Quran, we must accept those. And they help to inform and increase our knowledge, inshallah. So, inshallah, we've taken a lot of everyone's time. We'll stop here, inshallah. Of course. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah. I think, Brother Abdullah, maybe we just.
I would like to practice some.
Would you really?
Hijaz,
Okay.
if you guys have the 5 minutes to do it.
We can do it. Yeah,
5 minutes?
Yeah, if you can just introduce us
Or
to
just
Bayat.
Bayat for us.
Yeah, just
Or
show
at
us
least it
Bayat.
shows the difference in Hijaz and Bayat.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay. You want me to just do it standing or you sit down? And Brother Rashid hopefully can also show us with his voice, inshallah.
Just 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll keep it short.
I've been practicing,
You have?
but I don't know if it's hijab.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful,
yeah.
man. MashaAllah.
I've
Looking
been
forward to
doing a lot
hearing
of-
you. Oh, you have?
I've been doing that.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good, actually. Yeah.
And then my dad was like,
Oh my
"Is
God.
everything okay?" Yeah.
What's the gonna pick?
Let's see.
It's easy.
Let's see. I'm gonna choose. Baqarah. We could do that.
I like the Baqarah.
I think we can do Baqarah. Okay. Ar-Rahman is also a good choice. Just to keep it short, I guess.
Yeah, Fatiha has a good
Focus.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys want to do Hijaz first, and then we'll go into Bayat? Okay. So remember Hijaz, we said the key for the maqam, right, is like this. Right? That's Hijaz, right? So the way you recite Surah Al-Fatiha in this maqam, you'd read it like this. Remember, and we said this is also used for adhan, right? And we can show you again the adhans, right? But when it comes to Surah Al-Fatiha, like this. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Right? So that's Hijaz, right? You guys want to try? All right, so I can do it as you want me to say it again? I'll just say the basmala for you. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين
Yeah, so let me redirect you a little bit, okay? So Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So you want to start a little bit higher. So you're starting with a little bit of a low pitch. So remember, Hijaz starts at a little bit of a higher. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
الحمد لله
Yeah,
الحمد لله رب العالمين
it's better. Yeah.
الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين.
Good. Ahsantum. Yes. Very nice. All right. Do you want to go, Brother Rashid?
I'm gonna go on call.
Oh, you like Maqam Kurd. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Show us, bro.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Ahsantum. Very nice.
It's much relaxing.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's
Kurd
like
has that.
lower.
Kurd has that quality about it. Yes.
I think we were doing the Adhan and that actually did it. Oh no, it wasn't Rus.
Rust. Yeah. Rust. Yeah. Rust is a very good maqam to do adhan in. But Kurd has a special and there's branches of Kurd too. There's Dasht, Maqam al-Lami. There's a lot of different variants. Yeah. So inshallah, we'll go through Maqam Kurd as well. But you want to go, Brother Muhammad? Yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Good.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Ahsant. Yeah. MashaAllah. Yeah, yeah. You've been practicing. I can tell. MashaAllah. That's great.
I've been practicing all that about.
MashaAllah. Very nice. You wanna do adhan too in Maqam Hijaz? We can do it maybe afterwards. But Qarar?
Yeah, if you can listen.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
MashaAllah. Yeah, you've been practicing too a little bit with your voice, right? Yeah. You went a little bit higher than your normal pitch. That's good. So Hijaz, you need to be at a little bit of a higher pitch to get it.
So which one is this one?
This is Hijaz you're doing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna do Bayat in a second, but
I'd like to do. Let's see my favorite thing.
Oh, man. Okay.
Just decide.
okay, okay. All right. You wanna go, Muhammad?
Sure, you don't want to go? It does very hard for me, but I'll go.
Inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Wow, man.
Depends. Well, watch about
That was the best one out of the whole group. Yeah, that was the best. That was the best hijaz, mashallah.
I did my
Yeah.
homework, man.
Mashallah, that's excellent. Mashallah, mashallah. No, that was a really good hijaz. Wow. Ahsant, ahsant. Okay. So we'll switch to bayat because I think bayat will be a lot easier because it's you can go with the deep voices, it's easier to do bayat, right? And bayat is a very standard maqam that's used almost all recitations start in bayat. And you'll start in a low register. It's just it's a maqam that really it has a lot of majesty about it. It has a lot of power in it. You know, a lot of it's like a very jalali type of maqam. You know,
What region does it come from? Because that will
bayat is yeah, it comes from Iraq.
okay.
Uh,
Helps.
yes, it's an Iraqi maqam. So that yeah, it's a very beautiful maqam, right? And most of the Quran recitation, some people they just read bayats like all the time. They don't ever switch because it's very dynamic too as a maqam. It has many ranges and many different subtunes and such as well. Yes, it would probably be the easiest one,
Did you say
inshallah.
they use the Latinas too?
Yes, of course,
Yes,
yeah, yeah. Yes, ad'iyah as well, very very common. Yes, yes, yeah. So there's qarar, jawab, and jawab al jawab, right? Of maqam bayat, right? And I'll show you some vocal range with bayat. Okay, so I'll just recite Surah Al-Fatiha and qarar, kind of the low pitch first, just so you can hear what it sounds like. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Right? So that's bayat, right?
It's similar to because but stronger.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll show you kind of just yeah. That's bayat, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Maytham at Tamara is a very good Quran reciter, mashallah. Yes, and bayat is it has a lot of power, right? So you go even higher. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Right? So, and then adhan even is done in this maqam, right? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. الله أكبر الله أكبر. Right? Yes. So, inshallah, let's just go around and we can even just practice the basmala if you want. Yeah. Yeah. You can even do مقام البيات مقام البيات مقام البيات مقام البيات. Right? So you can say it like that even. I guess what would be another um I'm not sure how we can maybe another I'll try to think there's a yeah. Yeah. So there is there's a latmiya that maybe a latmiya might help, you know. Um, let me see. There is uh, Basim. Yeah, I think Basim Karbelai
Yeah,
has a lot. And
Tuzonians and
yes,
also Banat al-Nabi also
yes,
is in.
yes,
It's a very long Latmiya. It changes to the but Some of it, yeah, Bayat, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so uh, I think yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
It is
So
a high
so
pitch.
so you know, yeah, yeah. So there's also other subvariants of bayat. There's also what we call bayati shuri, which is a mix of Hijaz and bayat, right?
That's
So
another week.
yes, inshallah, inshallah, I'll do it. I'll do it another time. There's so he has. I remember he has one. Uh, it's على كمدي على جندي أعينوني like this is bayat, right? لفاطمة أنوح yeah, I had memorized this
Yeah,
one like
yeah,
way
yeah.
back, but this is a very good one to practice for bayat, and you can find it on YouTube. It's a very common one recited in Arabic, you know. And even in English, I have some that are in English too. These maqams you can find in any language, you know. But inshallah, so brother Rashid, do you want to do jawab for us? Sure,
Okay.
sure, best you can.
Challenge
Yes.
accepted.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط مستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Ahsant, ahsant, very nice. Yeah.
MashaAllah.
So you went between rust and the bayat actually, mashallah. But very nice, yes, mashallah, ahsantum. Yeah, yeah. Mashallah, mashallah.
You think circular breathing. Yeah. Some people do that. Who take breaths as they're like but exhaling. You see Abdullah, he stops in the middle a lot. That's why he yeah. Well, his lungs he's like
Yes.
people do like instruments. Inhale, exhale,
Yeah, they practice. Yeah.
But any reciter that you choose, just listen to the beginning. You'll see most everyone does bayat, right? So bayat is very common, right? Abdul Basit, yes. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. That's another example of bayat, right? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Another, so bayat is very flexible, but all these are bayat. Even if they sound a little different, they're all same thing. They're the bayat, right? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. That's also bayat. Yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Right?
That was just emotional, a little
But
softer.
bayat is kind of, it's more I think it's like it like sits to it sits, yeah, yeah, they're all circular. They all have a
Yeah.
circular pattern. But
Shorter
bayat I
notes.
think has more of a it has a lower pitch and it's more powerful. You know, it's more power. It has a lot of power in it because it's a maqam that conveys a lot of strength. You know, so like for instance, like a lot of verses that can that sort of, that's why whenever you're starting with Quran, you start in the maqam bayat because it conveys that jalal, you know, that jalali kind of spirit a little bit, you know. And so some people they just recite purely in bayat. They don't choose any other maqam, you know. But from bayat you can go into hijaz and then come back. You can go into bayat and then you can go into saba. Saba is another maqam we'll study later. But there's lots of things you can do. Tanaqul bain al maqamat, going from one maqam to the next. But this maqam, if you master this maqam, you will have a beautiful voice, and you will recite beautifully, and people will really appreciate the way you read. So, okay,
Yeah,
all
we'll
right.
just go
So,
around.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Good. That was good. Very nice. Yeah. Go ahead.
بسم الله الرحمن
Good.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Good.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Ahsant.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. So at the end, you went a little bit higher. So you have to go Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Right?
Rahim.
So you want to go down a little bit. Yeah. You want to try that again?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Good. Yeah, inshallah. So yeah, inshallah, we'll continue bayat next week.
Yeah.
I think.
The
Oh,
whole surah, yeah.
oh, did you guys want to do the whole thing? Okay, all right,
I feel like
all right, fine. Yeah, let's do it.
I feel like to get the pitch right, you have to do the whole surah.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
of course.
Yeah. So just you do it. You do it, Muhammad.
You guys want us
Rashid.
to do the whole thing or just
Do
Yeah,
the whole surah. Yeah.
we can. I'm at your service, guys.
I
Whatever you
feel
like.
it's better.
Inshallah. Okay. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
الحمد لله رب العالمين.
الحمد لله رب العالمين
Ahsant.
الحمد لله رب العالمين
You went into court, actually. Yeah,
Wow,
masha-
this is-
it's good. It's good, mashallah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين
Yeah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين
Can I finish the whole surah? Because that's how I get the pitch.
Yeah. So let me just
Yeah. Go
give
ahead,
you.
because I forgot. Yeah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين.
You went into court. But that's good. That's good. That's good. You're learning from Rashid, mashallah.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين.
Ahsant. Ahsant. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Right? So you want to try? So let's go back to was it Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim we were doing? Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. That was actually good. Yeah, very nice. Mhm.
So I'm gonna finish the whole surah too, 'cause that way I get it.
Okay,
How was
sure.
How was the rhythm?
So let me just give you the tune, right?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين
الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Good. MashaAllah. Ahsant. Yeah. So, all right, brother Abdullah.
Brother, you should read the whole surah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
That's
can
how you
the
get it.
pitch.
Yeah, I think that works much better. Yeah. So again, right?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Try to practice salawat and bayat too, right? Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Good.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
That was the best bayat. That was the best bayat. You got the best bayat today. Yeah, that's that helped you. Okay, yeah, yeah,
MashaAllah.
yeah. Mashallah, ahsant, ahsant. So inshallah, we'll continue this. We'll keep doing it. So
Next week, if
yes,
you don't mind,
yeah,
we should also practice Hijaz.
yes, of course.
Because Hijaz needs a lot of focus. Yeah, it's very. And I feel like once you have Hijaz,
I think next week we can do Bayati Shuri, that variant that has Hijaz in the beginning and then Bayat, right?
perfect. Okay.
So we can practice
That's
that too,
perfect. What I mean.
because there are other variants of Bayat that we didn't even cover. Like when you go into the higher pitches, right? Then it becomes more. You become very. It's a very creative maqam. There's a maqam. There's Bayati an-Nawa, for instance, Bayati Shuri. There's Bayati al-Husayni. There's all these variants,
Bayatullah,
right?
yeah.
So we can learn these together.
If you guys don't mind, we spend more time on
Yeah.
Inshallah, yeah. We'll keep practicing, inshallah. But I think the most important thing is keeping your guys' enthusiasm, inshallah. So whatever I can do to help with that, inshallah, of course.
someone's wallet.
That's mine. Thank you.